My name is John Abraham, and I've known Mike, I would say, for almost 15 years. I met him the first time when I was running for the Board of Education in Cobb County, and I was speaking at a Kiwanis group, and he was a speaker also. And he talked about his experiences with his homeless pets, and I never had a pet growing up. And all of a sudden, things started going. I got to talk to him because veterinarians, I'm trained as an epidemiologist, and veterinarians were really the first epidemiologists, so we just struck up a conversation and we talked about having pets. What's interesting is, growing up in a very ethnic community, dogs were not a good thing. I grew up in Connecticut, but my family is from the Middle East. So I got jaded, and one of the worst regrets I've had in my life is not being able to give my kids a dog when they were growing up. So as they were in high school, they ended up adopting a pet from Mike's Homeless Pets Shelter. They brought him home. I was like, what the heck is a dog doing here? And I said, okay, if he's going to sleep downstairs in the cage. Next night, if he's going to sleep on your side of the bed. And that was it. I mean, he's part of the family. Since then, we adopted another dog through Mike's Homeless Pets Club, and I'm sold. When I used to work at CDC, we look at the health effects of people exposed to hazardous waste, and one of the questions from the community was all about their pets. And you know, it didn't really resonate with me until I had a pet and realized how much that means to a family. It was very much of an epiphany for me. The unconditional love, they're there all the time, the doorbell rings. I said, what are you doing? It's not for you. But they come, they're happy, they're just part of the family, and they're just love machines. They're just wonderful additions to our family. So then we ended up talking about getting schools involved in his Homeless Pets Club, and I brought him to the board meeting. He made a good presentation, and we voted on making sure all principals were receptive of having homeless pets clubs. So when Mike gave that presentation, and I started going to schools and saying, I think we need to do this. I think it could be a great learning experience for children to know how to love, dealing with the anti-bullying, being able to make friends, have a shared vision of seeing a dog being adopted, and you know you were part of that as a child. I said it's a wonderful experience, and I mean, it's not going to cost you anything, just we need your support. It takes one interested teacher to be able to be a sponsor. You know, instead of a coach, they want to sponsor a pet club. Kids will come in and flock to that. I gotta think it's going to improve student achievement in these kids, because all of a sudden, you know, their self-esteem goes up that I did this. I saved this cat's life. I saved this dog's life. I did that, you know, and they know they did that. So I think that's what's wonderful about it.
Oh, in a quiet room. This is something I've been looking forward to. Hey, is there an open room, guys? Both charts on my desk. Make sure the kitty's secure, latched.
Yeah, tiger.
You got that right.
If you're looking to adopt a new pet into your family, or are curious to see what the Homeless Pets Foundation has to offer, please visit our website at homelesspets.com or click the link below. We kindly accept donations to keep the nonprofit running healthy and strong, just like our beautiful pets looking for a home.
I first met Mike at a Kiwanis gathering. I was a speaker and he was a speaker, and he spoke first, and he was very passionate and emotional in the stories he was telling, and I gotta admit, I was taken by that. So after I spoke, we got together and we started talking about that, and not too much later, my kids, unbeknownst to me, adopted a dog, Herky, from his homeless pets.
I rescued it, he adopted it.
And then two or three,
a homeless pet. Yeah.
2-3 years later, we adopted another one.
Yeah. They are such a stabilizing effect to keep you grounded, keep you focused on what's really important. And of course, that's why when I got into rescue, I'm an oddball because I'm a veterinarian, and because most vets didn't want anything to do with rescue people, because they felt that all they were trying to do is nickel and dime and get discounts and stuff. But I saw the value that these are people that are using their own money, find a stray dog on the side of the road, and said, no, I'm not going to take the shelter. Because this was 40 years ago when we were euthanizing 40 million dogs and cats a year in shelters. John pulled some strings, and we got the endorsement. And I got to go before the school board because of John and tell them the value I thought these schools could do. And I wanted Cobb County to be the first because that's where I'm from. I said, I was so excited, you know. I mean, I thought, wow, the kids can be a part of this. And the story I told them when I met with the group, I said, listen, there's a little 8-year-old in Cobb County that loves animals. And she wants her mommy to take her down to the shelter every weekend so her and mommy can wash the dogs so they look pretty so they get adopted. But she can't because she's not 18.
Another thing in Cherokee County, I remember they had a nice animal shelter. And they would tell us that teachers, after school, would go to the pet shelter and read a book to pets. And it would be like different than having two martinis. Yeah, and she says it was the most relaxing feeling after school to just sit back and read a story to dogs.
And they said, wow, what a great, because remember, this is 16 years ago. They said, wow, this is great because we all care up here, but we're packed and nobody's coming in the door. And now their shelter is up there and some of the best in the country in how they interact with the community because they started pet clubs.
That is the key, interacting with the community, because the community would jump on that. It's not a cost to anybody.
It's
I mean,
free.
it's relieving a lot of headaches for some of those folks.
Yeah. Now, I haven't even shared this with you, but I've been talking to some principals in this pandemic saying, hey, you know, obviously, this is, and they came at from this perspective. We got little kids that are home and they're scared, they're confused, they're depressed, whatever. We'd like to do a pet club, which is virtual for the whole school. So all the kids are in the club, all the teachers, and whether they're in class or they're at home, they're spreading the word. And when it gets adopted, we notify the principal and they notify all the kids in the school. Sparky got a home. It's because of our school and because of you. So your family go have a party to celebrate Sparky getting home and have the whole, I think that would be the future.
I think the self-esteem for a young child to know that they did that. You know, when you do something that you know you did well, you don't need other people to tell you, you know you did well. And I think it's really
John, you'll love this because we're cut from the same cloth. I tell the kids, hey, this is our plan. You start a pet club here, you tell stories, animals get adopted. We want the families to come out and throw a party for you and let you meet the dog. And they get all excited. So I say these little kids that don't have, you know, they don't know who they're, you know, whatever. They don't have the much of anything in their life other than their school and their mom or their dad or their auntie or whatever, because they don't even know who their mom and dad are. Who knows? But I tell these kids, every time we get an animal saved, we want to have a party to celebrate. So how many parties do you want to have this year? And they say, we want to have 100 parties. Now, you know, that's how excited they are. And I say, well, then we have to rescue 100 dogs. No problem. These kids are on board. But then at the end of the talk, whenever I talk to these kids, sometimes it can't happen. We can't have a party. So what's more important? That dog or cat getting home or having a party? And I'm batting 1,000. All the kids said, no, the animal getting home. The party is not that important. It's not near as important as that dog getting home. And that's 1,000% of kids across all socioeconomics. That's why we got to get this in every school, so that kids don't grow up and figure out how to hurt people. They grow up being nurturing and wanting to be a part of a community, and they want that whole community to be healthy and whole.
Couldn't agree with you more.
There you go.
I mean, I just think it's wonderful for diversity. It's wonderful for anti-bullying. It's wonderful for just improving a child's self-esteem, and all of a sudden they want to know more about things. They'll start reading. They'll start doing things. And
it's amazing. And I tell clients, it's amazing he breaks this up. This is what I miss about, because back in the day we didn't know what we were doing. But my big thing with every school club I'd like to see is that when they have their club meeting, kids come and they're charged by the teacher or whatever, regardless if they have a virtual or whatever, that, okay, we have another meeting in a month. But in the next month, if you read something or see something online or whatever where people are helping animals or animals are helping people, capture that. that message or that story, and at the next club meeting, get up in front of all the kids and tell that story. So it reinforces in all of them.
Yeah, and what I also like is the middle school being mentored by the high school, and
the elementary being mentored by the middle school,
and that kind of thing where you have that kind of vertical integration. And I just think it just opens it up and brings communities closer together.
And to another point that John brought up about the bullying is validated by criminologists. Criminologists say if you want to stop bullying in school, you have to teach empathy to the perpetrators, and you better start in elementary school. I want to start in daycare. When I go to daycares, John, to for-profit daycares, people are paying money to send their kids before kindergarten, before elementary school. When I talk to those kids, I ask them, because they're like 2.5, 3, 4, whatever. And I ask them, those that have pets, when did you start loving your dog? They say, when I was born. That's the most common answer I get. Not when you're 2 or 3, when people say kids start developing empathy, when I was born. That's how powerful this is. So I want to get into it. You and I need to do this, a national chain of for-profit daycares. And we say, how would you like to have an exclusive in your for-profit daycares where in your community, if a kid wants to be in a pet rescue club in daycare, they got to go to one of your daycares.
Isn't there some research that's pretty much validated about allergies where pets are able to?
Well, yeah. There was a huge study done in Germany where they followed kids from birth to 18, and it seems to work more for dogs than cats. But what they found that in households, and this was a huge study, it was finished about 7 or 8 years ago, were kids that were raised with dogs. At 18, their immune systems were so much better than kids that weren't. And even kids that were in households that only had cats, you would think you'd get the same, but it didn't. The difference is dogs go out and bring nature in to help build up immunity. So yeah, I think it helps with allergies, but it also helps them fight off things. And I'm a perfect example. My mom raised 4 kids basically by herself, and she had Cocker Spaniels, and she would breed them and sold the puppies to put food on the table. That's how desperate my early life was. And I remember my first vision is my mom snipping the tails at about 2.5, 3 years old of those docking the tails with a razor and putting a string on it, when they cut their tails off for the Cocker Spaniels. That was my first visions. And until I had this total hip, I've never been in a hospital my whole life. And I attribute the fact that I've had dogs in my life my whole life. And they've helped me have a robust immune system. So no, there's so many benefits. And so there's no reason why we should ever euthanize a dog or cat in this country because it's homeless. It might be dangerous. It might be suffering. And the great majority of people say if a dog is suffering, either up here and they're lashing out and they're suffering up here and they're a threat to the community, humanely euthanize them. If they're eaten up with cancer, don't let them suffer. But if they're adoptable, find them a home. I mean, everybody in this country wants us to be heroes. And if we can spread the word in the right way, in the right passionate way, we can stop a lot of society's ills with these pet rescue clubs. And guess who's the wife of the President of the United States? She's got a PhD in education. I would love to get our little book in front of her on bullying. You've read that book, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah. I have a buddy who's the new sheriff here. He has contacts with the administration where we could probably get in front of the president's wife, Mrs. Biden, and talk to her about our humane education program.
I think
as an educator.
I think it's a wonderful idea.